Hey everyone, another episode of what we can even call this, Vipan chats with Simon and Vipan, something like that. It's good
Yeah.
to be here, and great to be back on the Zoom with you, Vipan.
Yes. Good morning to you, Simon, and hello, lovely people.
And I've even got my cat here today. I won't put our camera on; she's not camera shy, but so Vipan, we're going to talk about service today. That's one of that's the next subject. So I know you had a couple of questions that you wanted to start with.
Yeah, I do actually, Simon. I want to sort of people listening probably trying to understand what do you mean? What do you actually think and mean? It means by being of service. That's my first question. And so, yeah, let's take it from there. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think that there's also layers to it, like most questions. And I think that you could serve, being of service uh, could be anything really that just means you're giving to other people, you know. But I think that the deepest level of service is like the result of almost like a psychological change where your priorities change because you get older. I think of service like you could be a 12-year-old and be in service to your pet dog or something like that, right? But my conceptualization of being of service is this almost like spiritual shift that people have in their life where you meet people, and if you grow up through the church or through some spiritual sort of circles, it's the goal, right? Is to be of service, to become a serving member of the church, or to feed the homeless, or it's something you aim at. But my since my own shift, uh, and you've had the same shift, I think of service as a result of a psychological shift or maturation, where basically you go from consuming to producing, or you go from you do a pole shift within, where you go from thinking about yourself to thinking about others. But it's not an effort. It's the way it has to be. You know, it's just the way you now operate. It's just the way it is, and and once you get into that shift, life's very different because you and it's much better. It feels better because I think that there's joy and there's pleasure and there's these emotions that we want to feel, we chase when we're self-serving. When we're self-serving,
Yeah.
you have to look for pleasure and joy, and to try and fill up a hole that actually can only be really filled by serving others or serving humanity. Or but I don't think you can rush it. I don't think you can jump across there. I think you can get people to serve. But I think, like, I know a lot of young men who are 26 or 27, they're just not ready to serve the world yet. You know, they have to serve themselves for a bit longer to realize that, you know, they have to waste some more money on themselves, or they have to, before they're ready. And maybe it's when you meet the right woman and you want to have a family, and then you realize you've got to serve your family, and actually, you know, then you have children. And for me, the biggest two massive shifts for me, one was in recovery, and then one was since I've had children. You know, one in recovery, you know, I had a very profound experience on psilocybin mushrooms that shifted my worldview completely, because I just came out of that experience seeing what self-service does, and what it does to the soul, but also realizing that no, you don't want to dying a death where you've lived a life self-serving is not a good death. You know, you don't want to look back on your life and have been self-serving. It's not a good feeling. It's not. Um, and then the gradual shift into me thinking about others and my relationships and repairing relationships and doing what's best. But sometimes, you know, sometimes serving others requires a bit of selfishness as well. So I think, you know, a little bit of like, because if telling the truth, you know, if I really want to serve you, I have to tell you the truth. So self-service isn't always making other people feel good. Other service isn't always making other people feel good. It's quite to be in service is quite there's a saying, Alan Watts says a quote about the monkey picks up the fish off the ground and puts it back in the tree, thinking he's helped it.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the teacher I like says you don't have to help every old lady. Some old ladies don't need to be helped across the street. So I think there's a wisdom in service, and I'm learning about that at the moment. Like, when is it the right timing? You know, some people, especially in addiction, some people just need to be let go, and that's serving them is to let them go.
Yeah. Well, I think you've just hit a really important point. Service, it doesn't necessarily mean helping. I think there's a possibly a mistake thinking that being of service means you're there to help people. That doesn't necessarily follow. I think, as you said, with certain people, if they're not ready, you don't know what they want, so you're making an assumption. If you are saying, I'm here and service is to be of help, well, you're making an assumption that person wants your help. No, they might just need something else from you or want something else from you, but it might not necessarily mean your help. It could be a lot more simpler than that. But then, as you said, the timing has to be right as well. But there's a couple of really important points you've mentioned, and what struck me was that serving is about looking outwards. As you said, it's to do when you why it's so important, because it makes you realize that there's more important things in life. And you're right, it does need a bit of maturation of your own personality, because you think that you're the only. First of all, you go through these phases in life thinking, I've got to maximize my own potential by doing stuff only for myself and maximizing my income, my career. So it's all about yourself and focusing on yourself. And I think as time goes on, you realize there's other goals and values. And when I started looking at resilience, for example, they found it as a key trait of resilience is to look outwards and to think about other people and being able to help others, because it gives you because it gives you purpose. It helps give you purpose, and then it deflects. And you're right, it does have an emotional well-being factor, and you feel better when you help and serve others. I certainly find it immensely satisfying to know that I do things whenever I can to help and serve others in whatever capacity, whether, and we can talk about where and how later on. But yeah, I think you've made some really critical points that it's a subjugation in a way of your ego, because you're now not thinking about yourself, you're thinking of others.
Yeah, I really love that, and actually, I bring a fair bit back to Buddhist structure, and there's three schools of Buddhism, right? There's one called Theravada Buddhism, and Theravada Buddhism is this. So basically, the concept of Buddhism is there's no you, there's no self, right? You're an empty space, and actually, all the cause of suffering is believing that you exist, right? It's believing in Vipan, the person, right? And then we hold on to what we want, and there's desires involved, and then people don't meet our needs, and so the whole of that. So, and there's three ways of getting to that point in Buddhism. One is Theravada, and Theravada is the renunciative Buddhism, which is when they shave all their hair, they go live in the caves, and they renounce the world and themselves. They get rid of everything. Sorry, my cat's making a big rustle. That's it, right? It's good. I need to forget. See, my cat's making a rustle while I do my podcast. How dare the cat ruin my podcast?
Oh dear.
Door is always me. The other one is Mahayana Buddhism, which is Mahayana Buddhism says that you basically, in Mahayana Buddhism, you get so lost in in serving others, that you disappear.
Yeah.
So you basically just don't care about yourself.
Like that. Yeah.
It's the complete renouncing of caring about yourself at all. And then you just spend your whole life focusing on other people. And then that practice over the course of a lifetime, or more than one lifetime, that actually dissolves your own ego, your own identity, because you're so focused on being there for others. So a lot of Mahayana Buddhists, they spend time in hospices, they're there end of life care, they're there on the streets feeding people, because then because other people become more important than them.
Well, exactly. And also, not. Well, I mentioned the word deflects, and people will get self-absorbed with the troubles of their own life, and the woes and the illnesses, and they think that people think, they have a really difficult life, and they do. People do. It's not easy, but it makes I think it helps. We talk about this as another common theme is perspective, Simon. So it puts it into context when you look at how other people have to cope, and then you sort of, if you start being of service to others who are more needy in some respects and need assistance, and looking at how they cope and the difference you can make to them, then already your focus isn't about you and your own problems. It is about you. You're in the mindset, and then you're in the moment totally, and you forget about. And I bet you that. And I think they've done scientific studies that show that it is effective for pain relief and alleviating some mental illnesses as well by focusing on others and helping others. It changes your own view and your own health, as it were. So it is good for you, frankly.
It is, and there's another study which was that people with depression and anxiety have been proven to use the word I and me more.
Yeah, that is true.
Language is very powerful because language is a vibration, but it also directs the attention. There's that, and then I also saw this amazing meme once. There was one person that says, I can't, there's one person with their head in their hands and it goes, I can't take anymore. You know, that kind of like, I can't take anymore. And then another person says, so give.
Yes.
You know, that like, I can't take anymore, we'll give then.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think about too is, I've had a couple of, when you think when you give and you don't think you have enough to give, right? The resources or the energy or the love, right? So there's this belief system that I can't give right now. I need to build up more of this. I need this to be stronger. I need to be more secure. But I think there's something that truly pretty actually magical happens that I believe is, you could say it makes the world go round, kindness and things like this. But I think that the moment you start giving, resources become available to give, something like that. Like whether it's an emotional resource. So the moment you want to love when it's really hard, like truly serving someone is loving them when they don't deserve love, or loving someone when they are unkind, or loving them when they're like, that's proper service. Now, there's so many reasons not to give that person love. Maybe they've hurt you, maybe they've hurt me, and we love anyway because that's serving them. Because everybody needs more love, not less. But I've noticed that there's this block there where I couldn't possibly love this person right now. But the moment you go, it becomes available. Or I tell you this now, one of the things that it's actually Tibetan magic, right? Our Lama Lena, she taught this lesson on Tibetan magic and money, right? And real proper Tibetan magic. And she said that the way to make more money is you create space for money by giving loads of things away. And the other thing you do is you give whatever you've got left, you give it away. And about a year or two ago, Jess and I started going through IVF and things like that. We didn't have a great deal of money, not much, like enough to get by, but we didn't have savings for IVF, for instance. And I started giving my money to homeless people, and I started being really generous, even though I didn't have much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though I didn't have much. And at times, I had to face Jess and go, I gave a homeless person 10 quid. It's so much money to us. But I said to her, let's follow Lama Lena. Let's follow this. If it's Tibetan magic, we're Buddhists. We're Buddhist practitioners. There's no such thing as a Buddhist. We're practicing Buddhism. Let's put our faith in our Lama. We started giving our money away a little bit more. And mate, money started flowing in left, right, and center. A new job came, a better salary came. And now we make a real point of being generous. Jess bought her friend breakfast the other day. And I tell you now, when I look at money and I think I don't have enough to give this right now, it's actually a signal for me to give it. Because I know that there's some sort of like guiding principle in the universe, which is this: what you give, you will receive.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely believe in that.
It's in the Bible. Give and you shall receive. And I think most people don't have much because they don't give much.
Yeah.
I don't really do. So when you build a lifetime of service. It's a lifetime of, you receive so much by giving. I think I wish people knew that, but you only learn that by doing it. You
Yeah.
receive so much by giving.
People are afraid though. I think they're wrapped up. Again, it's being wrapped up in what they're used to and their own beliefs. Um, but once they start doing it and doing something different and feeling and seeing the change, I think they will welcome the changes to their life. I think that's why I think people are afraid. People are afraid. I think this is, so they get used to a certain pattern of life, aren't they? Don't they? So they do certain things in a certain way, and oh no, I can't. I've got my own needs first. But
Yeah,
then once I've satisfied those, again, it's about they're just self. It's about people's first instinct is to look inwards, but I think what we're saying to people today is start looking outwards,
yeah,
and you'll feel a transformation in your own well-being. And I think then that's why it's so important. And it is infectious, but you will. I definitely feel. Yeah, I've certainly on my own journey felt a lot calmer and more peace of mind
yeah,
once I've accepted that I needed to stop focusing on my own woes and illnesses
yeah,
and start thinking how I'm going to use my whatever I should be grateful for. And I had still a lot to be grateful for. So moving away from that pity party of
yeah,
one, and then looking at how I can serve others. And I
yeah,
got unbelievable amounts of uh, I just felt so much better looking at helping and then being of service to other organizations
yeah.
using whatever I can. It doesn't have to be money. Let's be honest. Let's be
Well,
also clear. We're not saying give your money away and that's it. Money is the easy aspect,
so easy.
actually.
Yeah, it's so
I
easy.
mean, what's more important when you're being of service is that you're available and you are there, and
Yeah,
you can. So that is time. So when
time
you
is
give,
such a great point, Vipan.
it is, yeah. So once you, well, not my point is great, but it's that is the important issue. That you are there and you are willing to. In fact, it might mean you have to whatever your own plans and whatnot. You have to subjugate those for a little while, just such that you can help others and make that time sacrifice. But that's what it's about. It's about giving your time.
Yeah, I like that a
Um,
lot. And I remember I've always been pretty fascinated by homeless people. I've always been sort of like really moved by someone who doesn't have a home. I think it's quite a moving thing to consider that someone doesn't have a home. And I always wonder how it happened. And I
yeah,
used to give money to him. There was a guy in Byron Bay in Australia, and I gave him some money and I just spoke to him. And he was like, "We don't always want money, mate." He's like,
yeah,
sometimes he said it's just like a chat. And I was like, it really stuck with me. And now, pretty much, I do give money because I know money. There's the question: are they going to spend it on drugs and things like that? But I think the money, the couple of quid now, I use it as an invitation for a conversation. And what
yeah,
I'll do is I'll sit down, I kneel down with a homeless person. Do this pretty much whenever I walk past one, and I just say, "What's your name, mate?" And they'll go, Gary. And I go, Why are you here?" I go, "Why are you here?" And they go, "Oh, and it's always the same. My family, mum and dad kicked me out. There's always childhood trauma involved. There's always like, ah." And I say, "How long have you been homeless?" Some of the answers will startle you. There's a guy who's 30 odd, he's been homeless since he was 14. He's been, another guy was, was a lady in Canterbury where I'm from. She was there and you could see she was, she was on something. You have a chat with her. "Why are you here?" Um, and then I usually do something like say a prayer, and it's a it's a gesture that I consciously choose to do for someone because it's not a religious gesture. It's more like want to share the biggest thing possible I can with them in the shortest period of time I can. So I usually say, "Do you mind if," and I do it every time, "Do you mind if I pray for you?" And every single time they say, "Oh God, please pray for me." It's
yeah,
every single time. No one's ever gone no. I've done it maybe 20 times. No one's ever gone no, go away. They go, "Please." And I'll put my hand on their shoulder and I'll say, to the God of our understanding, to the God of our understanding, I just really pray for Gary. I pray that that he finds some luck, that he meets the right people, that he has the right food and just meeting their needs. And it's just my way of going, I really, really care about you.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, but it's not selfless. It's not. I feel amazing.
Yeah, no,
Selfless.
yeah, but you don't. You're not.
There's
That's the important point, Simon. I
That's
mean,
the
what it
thing.
is.
That feeling that gives me, right, and I know I'm doing something good, and I know I'm being a channel for something bigger than myself. But there's that feeling will sustain me for weeks.
Yeah, but
To know that I can use myself to be of service like that.
yeah, but you're doing it without the expectation or reciprocity. Okay, that's the key. You're not expecting anything back from him, or that's the key. When you are of service, you obviously you're doing it because you want to be of service, and it is a one-way street. It is not I'm being of service so that I get something back in return. No.
But I still. This is where I think it's a really interesting subject, because I do. If more people knew that they would get something back by being of service, more people would be of service. So even knowing that you're going to feel good, knowing that it will feel good. Like I do believe that it's unconditional giving, but I think one of the most inspiring things about service is it feels so good. I do.
That is true. Okay,
I'm feeling though it's less immediate, and some of it's hard. Like that's an easy service, going and sitting with someone down on the street. That's easy, but I do think that a lot of people really find, the more people think that you don't get anything from service, the more they're unaware that they get, that sort of egoic service thing where it's like, look how selfless I am. Look how selfless I am. Right? It takes that out of it and goes, no, this is humanity serving, and I'm a part of humanity, right? Something like that. Like I'm serving myself and the world through giving. It's not I'm serving the world and I have to sacrifice all good feeling to do so. Sometimes that's the case, certainly when you're bad or something like that. Like there's a bit of self-sacrifice involved. But I think that service can be seen as this sort of like, it benefits all, the one that serves and the one that's being served. It's a benefit for everybody, and probably on some energetic level, the grass and the trees, and energetically, if everybody was serving, we've got 10 minutes left, but on the, hang on a second, I'll cut back and we'll cut out of that. But if everybody was in service, then everybody would be given by it. I tried to do this in a business setting last year. Our whole business plan was like, why aren't we getting more referrals? And I said to my boss at the time, how many referrals do we give?
Yeah.
I said to her, like, right, the way that we're going to get more referrals. So let's make our KPIs, right? The next quarter, we're going to stop our quarterly, like our KPIs for that quarter was, how many referrals are we going to get? I said, why don't we just make it purely this? How many are we going to give? If we spent 6 months only giving referrals, what do you think will happen afterwards? Give so many referrals. What do you think is going to happen to this business? Everybody's going to start referring to us. I said, we're so focused on what we're getting, but actually if we shifted the focus, like let's refer all the time. Let's just do referrals. When it's valid, when it's reasonable, and let's make our business shift into this. Let's refer and refer and refer. I said, you know what? In a year, we'll have so many referrals coming through this door. And we did. We shifted it. And within 2 weeks, we started getting more referrals because people felt so grateful to be referred. But also the energy, we shifted this energy into giving, It became a business that was actually serving the community because we're referring. And it's only a matter of time before it comes back.
Yeah, no, I like that story a lot, Simon. I think that's a really powerful story that businesses need to think about, and very few actually think along those lines. I mean, how many actually think about that for a start? It is because that's all their focus. Again, it's all the internal mindset. The KPIs are internal, aren't they? There is how much are our profits, how much salary are we making per employee, how many sales have we made, rather than the other KPIs as to which revolve and involve
Giving.
values about giving.
Yeah.
And again, it's a mindset. But gosh, God, imagine that a business culture, and those organisations which change their shift their patterns of
Yeah.
thinking in that would be revolutionary. I think it's such a powerful way. And
And
again, giving goes to the employees and the welfare of their employees, Simon. So this is where the employee, it doesn't have to be about external, but the owners of the businesses can actually start looking outwards, and outwards means looking after the welfare as their employees as number one priority, and not
yeah.
just lip service.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it because I like the sort of underlying theme under this subject of service we're speaking about is generosity.
yeah, yeah.
Generosity of spirit, generosity of love. It's generosity. And I think that there's something about generosity. You can't be afraid and generous at the same time. You can't have those two things can't coexist. You can't be afraid and generous.
No, but yeah, that is also true. But I think it's like moving a shift from darkness to light, and also moving your thinking from looking your viewpoint from down here to up above or straight ahead, and you can see a much broader. Your vision is from here to there,
Yeah.
and that's the same with your mindset, Simon. This is what we're saying, aren't we?
Yeah.
Change your mindset, and that's so important. And part of that changing mindset is the way you is giving, and that can involve a change in mindset
Yeah,
and
definitely.
serving.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned, sitting and having a chat with a homeless person, to pray. But that's a really simple thing we can do to be of service. You've got a pretty simple thing you do with a coffee line, haven't you? That's another little way.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things I love doing, and there's whenever I go to the local shopping mall, there's always a and although it's a very nice area where we live, however, there's always one or two people who sit there and they are down and out, or they are lonely, as you say. But I never give them money. But what I do is I go to them, especially in winter time when I can see they're bloody shivering. Is what can I get you? And so, what is it that you need? Is what I'm asking them. And they want what can I get you? And then it is something practical. It'll be a sandwich or a drink, or even one case a lady wanted nappies. She didn't have enough money to buy nappies, so you go. I just go into test whatever the supermarket is there and just give whatever that person needs. And if it's a hot drink and it's a sandwich, so be it.
Yeah.
But that's it's a similar. What is it? Okay, it costs me 3 or 4 quid, whatever. But the point is that it's just a simple thing, and it doesn't really affect you, does it? But it makes a big difference. So to them, we're not. Who knows when they've last eaten properly?
Yeah.
So it's just doing something random, but it's being aware that looking around you, because I think it's also because our thoughts are, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this. You're rushing around, you're not mindful. You see people, you don't see people. You see what I'm saying? You see them, but you don't see them. So I can see that people wander in and out of that store, and the guy or the lady, woman is just standing or sitting outside, being totally ignored.
Yeah.
Consciously or unconsciously, mostly unconsciously, because people are wrapped up in their own life. But if you just stop for half a second and look around, and then you think that actually whatever's happening to me, it pales into significance with probably the difficulties and whatever is going on in that person's life. So what can I do to just make that person's life just a tiny little bit better and more comfortable? And if it's a meal that sustains them for a little bit longer, I think it's just great, and you can see the smile. The smile is priceless for a start that you get in return.
It's also really deep, isn't it? Because it's like somebody cares about me.
Yes, it is true that
somebody really cares about me. I always think that, like if someone's found themselves in that situation, they can't feel particularly loved or cared about.
Yeah.
By society as a whole. But if it was one person, I always think somebody cares about me. Someone cares enough about me to ask me how I am and what can I get you. I think that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we might wrap up the service based part of this, and
All right, dude.
as
Yeah, that was good.
yeah,
Yeah.
what we going to speak
Good.
about? What's next?
What's next?
Should the
I think
listeners?
the listeners should be looking out for surprises because we just make things up as we go along. So
There's a
we're
lot
not
of
going
content coming out.
to. Hey?
There's a lot of content about to hit people at some point.
Yeah.
That's a part of service is creating. We're certainly, I think you and I are really creating. There's a lot of different ways of thinking of serving. I think about it becoming a creator. To become a creator and a producer rather than a consumer. And I think that we're part of our creativity is there's a lot of these things coming. Next
Well,
up, what's a good flow on from there? I'm trying to think what was
Oh, crikey.
what about purpose?
Purpose, finding your purpose.
Finding your purpose. We'll talk about that because you found yours, I've found mine.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually, Simon. Well done.
Do finding
like that one. Yeah.
I'm going to press stop recording and then you and I can keep chatting.
All right, mate.
See you, everyone.